Good morning, America. Happy Monday. I'm Vanessa Broussard. We are down to the wire in Minnesota. Early voting ends today with Election Day for the primaries tomorrow. Mike Lindell is making every last minute count in his quest for governor.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, I'm running for governor of Minnesota. President Trump has endorsed my campaign because he knows I'm the only conservative fighter that he can count on to help his administration remove illegal immigrants, restore fiscal sanity in St. Paul, and make Minnesota affordable again. I'm not for amnesty, and I've never been for amnesty, and I'll never be for amnesty. This is the most critical midterm election in Minnesota's history. In recent years, thousands more people and businesses have left our state than have moved to it. And this may be our last chance to get our state back on track. The Republican establishment has been running the same cookie-cutter politicians with their consultant-driven campaigns each cycle, and yet our party hasn't won a statewide race since 2006. Well, like President Trump, I'm not a politician, I'm a businessman. And I'm the only candidate with a plan to defeat Amy Klobuchar in November and address the dire situation our state faces. Right now, with only a few days remaining before Election Day, we're ahead in the polls, but polls don't vote, people vote. We need you all to get out and vote for me, Mike Lindell, on Tuesday, August 11th. Help us get over the finish line, and together we will make Minnesota affordable again.
Let's bring in political expert Rick Weibel with more from the Mike Lindell campaign trail. Rick, it all comes down to this, all the months of preparing and campaigning. How is the campaign feeling heading into Election Day?
They're feeling pretty confident, and it's actually incredible. And so the campaign has been out there engaging with voters in Minnesota, and especially through email, texting, door-to-door campaigns, and even phone calling. And now, of course, all the campaigns are doing this, but Mike Lindell is really driving home the message that it is time to turn the page on the DFL fraud. And I think it's going to be really important because with Minnesota's open primary, are people going to say we are done with the Democrats, and are they going to move over and vote for real change in Mike Lindell for governor? And so there's a lot of different things that are happening there. And so don't trust Polymark. Don't trust some of these other online buying places where they kind of say that they do survey. Right now, what's happening is that you've got Lisa's campaign and supporters buying into those markets. But if you look at the total dollars, Mike Lindell is still ahead in each of those. So think of it kind of like absentee voting, early voting, and already what's banked. So Mike is ahead in all of those markets, but in the late surge, Lisa is trying to take over with the investments of her supporters trying to take over. But that's a deviation that Mike Lindell would point to say, don't listen to that noise. And he's right. It is actually you, the voters, that get to decide. That is the ultimate poll tomorrow. And I think Minnesota is ready for substantive change, because when you look at a business owner, when they see deviations within their business, that's how they can spot issues and take corrective action early. And so I really think even Flanagan, who's running for U.S. Senate, is at risk because her administration, along with Tim Walz, has done nothing. And so I think even the Democrats are going to turn the page on anyone related to Tim Walz. But I even think some of the Democrats are looking at Amy and saying, she is not saying that she is going to actually address the fraud, because why isn't she holding Walz accountable today to actually address the fraud? It's not happening. And then also Republicans, when we look at Lisa Dameth, we look at what she did in the legislature as Speaker of the House. She created this new Office of Inspector General, which is actually quite fake because it doesn't actually get stood up until January 1, 2027. And then it doesn't have the legal authority to actually prosecute some of the fraud until January 1, 2028. So that's, as Mike talks about, a typical politician just doing the same old, same old. So we don't want to find out more fraud before the election. So this is why we wait until January. And then when you, in reality, already have on the Senate side, the legislative auditor, Why not just give them the legal authority, because they're already investigating some of these pieces. They already have a good report out. And why isn't that already being prosecuted? And so that's kind of the fakery of the Dameth campaign versus Lindell, where he wants to go in and actually clean house. And he's even mentioned having a Doge style committee to basically go through everything within Minnesota to make sure that taxpayers' dollars are actually going where they are needed and they're actually helping people. That is a businessman mentality, to make sure that the product is working well.
I want to go back to what you said in the beginning about Poly Market. Mike Lindell has been winning in the polls. He got the endorsement from President Trump. He has been surging in every poll that we've seen. Until late, you mentioned Poly Market. This came in just recently over the weekend. And how that works for our viewers who may not know is that this is almost like a betting system, and the odds, and people can throw money out. And it looks like somebody from the other campaign threw a big amount of cash into Poly Market to make her numbers go up, to make it look like that's what the voters of Minnesota want. In reality, what it looks like on our end, and looking into this, is that somebody just put a big chunk of change in on Lisa Dameth.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so when we look at actual polls that are in the state like KSTP, we see that Mike Lindell has been continuously ahead of Lisa ever since the Trump endorsement. And even before the Trump endorsement, he was at single digits. But once the Trump endorsement was locked in, it increased into double digit territory. And it just completely, that 30% plus type of a 25%, 30%, depending on which poll you're looking at, those are huge. And so I think this really sends out notification for MAGA. You need to come out and vote. And what was really disappointing in the 2022 election, so many of the MAGA crowd sat out during that election in Minnesota. And so there was 150,000 MAGA voters that sat out the election. Those voters, if they come out and support Lindell, he absolutely wins the primary hands down. And so this is your chance to actually take back Minnesota, get involved, and actually set the direction of the state on the right course.
Imagine anyone sitting this out. If they set out elections in the past, Rick, after all of the fraud that's been uncovered, all of the turmoil with ICE agents there in Minneapolis, the healthcare fraud, all of the things going wrong in Minnesota, if anyone sits home, we have a problem on our hands. I think every single person in Minnesota should be fed up, should be concerned, because if we don't make change now, Minnesota's done.
That's right. And Mike is the only one that has solutions to basically give the money back to Minnesotans in real time, such as the retail sales tax cut for in-store purchases. That will be a huge boon to businesses in bringing back small town America in Minnesota. But also when you look at Minnesota, it is actually being handcuffed right now from a business sense because of the high taxes, Social Security taxes, the retail sales tax, plus all the regulations that are going on. And so why? Minnesota, ask yourself, why are you continuing to handcuff yourself on investment, on innovation? It is time to roll back Minnesota back to where you have the best education, you have the best investments, you have great corporations there that can actually do mining and actually be a huge boon to Minnesota with the hydrogen that has been discovered up there, the iron ore, mining, farming, the research institutions. This candidate in Mike Lindell is the only candidate that has been out there talking about unleashing Minnesota's potential to actually drive investment back to Minnesota, bring money back into the voters of Minnesota, and to bring down the crushing costs of living in Minnesota and heading towards failure. It's time to stop it and bring back sanity into Minnesota and bring back a businessman who can actually right course Minnesota.
You're absolutely right. He actually, Mike Lindell, he released his budget blueprint for the state. And if you're on social media, he has it pinned at the top of his page. This just released. We want to show it to you here. Rick, I want to scroll all the way down to number 10. Phase out the state income tax, seniors first, then rate cuts for all until it hits zero. Can you explain that for us?
Yeah, exactly. And so right now in Minnesota, we have these great seniors that have retired in Minnesota, whether they're in the Twin Cities, out in greater Minnesota, where they have a cabin or a condo. Right now, with the hemorrhaging costs of affordability in Minnesota, we need to take care of our seniors. They've already invested in Minnesota and they've already been stolen from. And so this is where we look at other states and taxing seniors on their social security and income for retirement, that's just gross. We're putting too much on their back. And so stopping that first is number one. Then rate cuts for all, looking at going after the fraud and making sure that we shore up education in Minnesota and business investments. Then we can bring down the costs of the individual tax burden for all Minnesotans. Then as we continue to grow the economy in Minnesota, we should be able to get that down to zero in Minnesota, like other states have done. I'm living in South Dakota right now, and we have no income tax, and we aren't far gone, and we're actually performing better than Minnesota. And so when we look at other states in the region around Minnesota, their tax rates are so much lower, and they're thriving. Minnesota is not. And this is why Mike is right that we have to start getting to the right area so that businesses can actually come back to Minnesota and reinvest, because Minnesota is rich in resources and it has a high education pool of ready employees.
I want to bring that list back up and go back to number one, eliminate fraudulent government services. We've seen a lot of that in the news lately, especially in the state of Minnesota. Number two, cut redundant stacked welfare programs. Number three, lower healthcare costs, the number one driver of state spending. Number four, fund only what works, performance over politics. Number five, mandatory e-verify plus real penalties on employers of illegal labor. That's a big one. Adopt Mississippi's reading reform model for the 49th, ninth at 1/3 of the cost. Grow the economy through tourism. Operation Restore Lives, Ben Carson's 4-pillar homelessness plan. And Minnesota Direct, private sector assistance, 40% more efficient. He says with this plan, Minnesota will place families there in the state who can afford to live there again, Rick.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And so with Minnesota's unemployment insurance, workman's comp insurance, all these other taxes, and even the license tab fees right now, that Lisa Damath actually did this like little trick where they lowered the fees, but they allowed a sunset clause within the legislation, so it automatically goes up. So you need a real businessman to lock in and to give sustainability to businesses and the citizens of Minnesota to basically understand, here's what your future looks like. We're not going to play games and have these automatic increases in there. And so this is where we need to actually inspect every single agency to make sure that the duplications aren't there with other agencies. We also need to make sure that the programs are not being fraudulently given out, that they're not actually doing harm to people, but they're actually giving people the tools to be able to lift themselves out, to be able to help people who can't help themselves, and to make sure that those programs are targeted to where people actually need and where they actually are helping people, and that they're actually doing the right thing versus going to people to where they're getting Mercedes, they're getting houses, they're getting all of this other luxury that working families are struggling to basically obtain on their own, that other people are basically robbing the government and stealing from the government to be able to enrich their own lives. And that's just ridiculous. And so by focusing on healthcare, Mike is exactly right. We have to make sure that we're reducing costs, reducing the fraud. When we look at education, the same thing there. We have to make sure that we are targeting education to make sure that we are educating people who are going to be ready for the workforce, who are going to be ready to be successful. And so that means we need to have people that are critical thinkers, that are ready to engage in the workforce, that are ready to help with continuous improvement for their employers as well. And so they have to be well balanced, well educated, and all of this political stuff that is happening within the education system has to be thrown out. And all this DEI, all this ridiculous stuff. Kids are kids and they love each other, and they are not wicked people. They just want to go in and learn and have a safe learning environment. They don't want to be hypersexualized and all of this other garbage that is happening within our education system. Why do we spend more time on some garbage education versus teaching kids how to build businesses, teaching kids how to fill out their tax returns, teach kids how interest rates work, teach kids how government works, and teach kids how they can actually have a voice. And we need to teach proper history, and we need to make sure that we're teaching self-reliance, but also critical thinking as well.
You're absolutely right. Let's talk about his running mate, Philip Parrish, the most qualified man for the job there. What can you tell us about him for people who may not know?
Oh, let's see. People are underrating Philip because as a naval intelligence officer, this guy has a knack for digging into the numbers, finding the fraud, and actually understanding where things are going. And so with that type of business acumen from Mike, and then the critical thinking that Parrish has, this is one of the best teams that you've got out there in the governor races across the country, bar none. And so Minnesotans would be hurting themselves if they do not select this ticket to go after all of the fraud and to right size Minnesota back to an actual competitive market amongst the 50 states that are out there. And so this is the best ticket out there that can actually move forward.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. He's been on the show before, and he is right there by Mike Lindell's side, along with his beliefs. And he's just the best one. Like you just mentioned, this is one of the best teams out there running for that ticket. The parade. I want to talk about the parade that drew a lot of attention. The mainstream media had a field day with this one. Anytime you've gone to a parade, we all have, they throw out candy, they throw out shirts, they should throw out t-shirts, cups, merchandise, all the fun things. Well, what is Mike Lindell known for? Pillows.
Pillows,
And so
of
he
course.
throws out pillows. And so the mainstream media went berserk. Let's talk about this parade.
Yeah, so it's really interesting is that you actually have regulations in Minnesota that you have to be careful not to throw candy because you could actually injure people. And so this is part of the response of the campaign is, all right, well, let's throw out pillows. Who's going to get hurt by a pillow? And the reality is they said that they purchased the pillows for under the $5 market. And these are the travel pillows, the smaller ones. And so there is a judge who is reviewing this, and I have a feeling, is he going to try to make a ruling that will torpedo Mike Lindell? Now, what's interesting is that Philip has basically indicated that they talked to the campaign finance board ahead of time to make sure that this would be okay. And so according to Phil, he has indicated that they did get the okay before distributing these pillows. So I don't understand where the issue is coming here with this this distraction.
I can tell you what it is. It's because he's got
ahead.
So many people. He's ahead. People love him. The people were excited about something new. Pillows from Mike Lindell being thrown out. We even saw workers running after the float to try to get workers, law enforcement officers who were there on duty saying, hey, I want a pillow. I work hard all day. I want to go lay my head down on a nice My Pillow tonight. That's what the problem is. Not that it violated any type of campaign anything. It's just that Mike Lindell is ahead. Like you mentioned, the people love him and we have to complain about something and then go after Mike yet again. So that's the only problem here in this scenario.
Well, and there's one more thing. Mike Lindell is the best marketer in the upper Midwest, if not the country. Yeah. Trump has said it, and we know Mike's instincts when it comes to marketing. It drew attention, and the fake news absolutely attacked him. And so did the other campaigns, and even the state party kind of raised eyebrows about it as well. And so stay tuned on this issue because it's in front of the courts, and these are liberal courts in Minnesota. I fully expect some creative rulings to come out of this.
Oh, absolutely. Sit tight, buckle up, everyone. Another attack on Mike Lindell. He's so used to it by now. He probably wakes up every morning and thinks, okay, what's today? Another hit. Let's talk about today. Today's Monday, last day of voter turnout for early voting. How has the voter turnout been so far?
It's actually been pretty strong, and I have more data coming in today. But the latest data on Friday shows a very high turnout, even amongst Republicans. And so, even though Mike Lindell prefers people to vote in person, we understand that people have busy lives and some people have to travel or they're taking care of a loved one. And so, the beauty of Minnesota is that there is early voting. So, you can go in and even vote in person today at your city hall, your county offices. And so, if you really want to support Mike Lindell, we would encourage you, if you feel that you're not going to be able to be there tomorrow, please go today and vote early in person if you can. If you mailed in your ballot, I'm a little concerned that it may not arrive in time if you mailed it out on Friday, because there's been some issues with the U.S. Postal Service. And so feel free to go in and check online at the Secretary of State's website to make sure that your ballot was received. And if it wasn't, go in and vote in person. And the auditors can make sure that your ballot does get received. And so if the mail-in comes in after election, it won't count. And so we have to make sure that it's postmarked correctly. But there's been some postmark issues that I've seen in Minnesota. But there's also another issue. If you received an absentee ballot and you haven't cast it yet, bring it with you. So that way, if you vote in person and they say that you already turned in your ballot, you can have your mail-in ballot in hand to say, no, you don't have it. Now we have a case. And so we want to make sure that our rolls are clean. We're starting to see some anomalies in the voter rolls already. So we've already identified that there's around 13,000 people who have voted in the primary, who voted last time in 2020 and were removed between 2020 and now 2026, and all of a sudden are now voting again. This doesn't really make sense, because who are these voters, and why did they have almost a 6-year hiatus to come out now and vote in a primary? So this kind of looks a little suspicious, and so we are investigating it.
Oh, gosh, I can only imagine what goes on behind the scenes, and how, because we talked about this the other day, just last week, Rick, that Mike Lindell is second to none when it comes to election integrity, other than the president, of course. But if this is going on in Minnesota under his watch with eyes on the ground, they know he has eyes and ears and bodies everywhere, and they're still trying to do this. So we'll keep an eye out, but it looks like you are ahead of the game. You know their tricks, and hopefully we'll beat them to the punch before tomorrow. You mentioned the Secretary of State website to check to see if you mailed in your ballot, if they've received it yet. If they haven't, go ahead and vote in person if you can. But you can also find your voting locations there as well. So if you're confused on where to vote, the Secretary of State's Office of Minnesota can help you locate where to vote. Type in your address. It'll tell you where to go under the poll finder information portal right there on your screen. I want to also say kudos to Mike Lindell. Big news as well, Rick. Stepped down as CEO of MyPillow so he can focus on Minnesota. He's going all in. It's all there. He's going all in. What has the feedback been so far when he stepped down?
Absolutely incredible. And people were wondering when this would potentially happen. And the fact that he did this before the primary shows how engaged Mike is in this election, that he is not a normal politician to where politicians want the people to serve them and get them into these positions. He has actually sacrificing his business, made sure that MyPillow was able to stand on its own 2 feet, and now is able to serve the people. And so he really wants to use his Christ servant heart to actually serve the people in this office to help fix Minnesota. And that is such a rarity in politics across the U.S. And so this is one of those golden moments for Minnesota, that they can actually pull the lever for somebody who truly wants to serve them.
Absolutely. Well, he's all in, and that's Mike. Anything he does, he goes all in. He gives his 100%, and he's doing the same thing here. MikeLindellGov.com. That's the website. Everyone can go there. If you have a loved one in Minnesota, make sure they go out and vote. If you have a friend, family member, neighbor, whoever it may be, make sure they go out and vote, because if you sit at home, that doesn't help the cause at all. And so we need every person in Minnesota to get out and rock the vote, either today, last day of early voting, or tomorrow. Rick, any last words from the campaign before tomorrow?
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for this wonderful journey. And you can be part of history, as we just celebrated we're still in the middle of it, our 250th anniversary as a country. And so all of you patriots that are watching, what are you going to do to help ensure the next 250 years? And so this is part of that first year. Get out and vote and help support this campaign.
Well, Rick, y'all have done a wonderful job. It's been so fun to be here along with you all on this ride as we try to flip Minnesota and save that state. It's hard to report weekly of all the turmoil going on there, but Mike Lindell saw what was going on in his state. He wants to make a change in his state, and he wants to better his state for the people of Minnesota, and also boost tourism like we saw earlier in his budget plan. So I know tomorrow is going to be successful, and then we're going to be on our way to November. So we are praying for tomorrow, and then we'll catch up with you on the other side, because then we have big plans for the midterms, the general in November. Rick, I know you have a busy day ahead of you. You all do, because we have some it's a final blitz for more votes for Mike Lindell in Minnesota. So I'll let you go right now. Thanks so much for stopping by, taking the time. Good luck to all of you.
Thanks for having me, and stay awesome, everybody, and go out and vote in your state if you can.
Thank you, Rick. All right, happening today, Todd Blanche will be sworn in as Attorney General after the Senate narrowly confirmed him over the weekend. The Senate voted 50-49 Saturday to approve President Trump's former personal attorney, who has served as acting attorney general since April. Blanche's confirmation came after a contentious process, including concerns from some Republicans over a proposed $1.8 billion fund tied to a settlement involving President Trump and the IRS. Well, Blanche agreed to scrap that fund, helping clear the way for his confirmation. As Attorney General, Blanche will oversee the Justice Department and its major law enforcement agencies, including the FBI. He becomes the permanent successor to Pam Bondi, who was removed from the post in April. Well, Congress has gone home for the month. They are on recess, and they did not pass the Save America Act. Are we surprised? No, we are not. Kamala Harris is trending this morning for this word salad. Watch.
Hey everybody, so they're trying to mess with your ability to vote, just to break it all down. You've got the Supreme Court. They just sealed the deal with this case that just came up recently, the Calais decision, which basically took the power out of the Voting Rights Act, which was designed to protect your right to vote. So you got the Supreme Court doing its thing. Then this president is trying to push this SAVE Act, which basically would require that for people to register to vote, you're going to have proof of who you are through a passport, which a lot of Americans don't have, or a birth certificate. Same point, obstacles to make it difficult for you to register to vote.
What? Not through a birth certificate or a passport. Yes, Kamala, an ID. It's not an obstacle. Everyone should have some form of ID. It's not hard. But that's Kamala trying to come up with her word salad. Another situation where what she says just doesn't make sense. But while we wait on securing our elections to make sure illegals aren't voting, the Trump administration is pulling the plug on illegals driving trucks on our roads. They can't speak English, so therefore they can't read the signs on the road. Here's one example.
This is Jeopardy! Introducing today's contestant.
Let me see the sign. What does it say? No. It says it's a pedestrian crossing, meaning you're going to run somebody over. And you see this sign. What does that tell you? Well, what does that tell you? No shots. You can't drive that way.
So the Trump administration had a little fun with that one, with some Jeopardy themed music going on right there. He was pulled over. Shouldn't be on the roads. 26,000 illegal, unqualified truckers have been pulled over off the road, with more to come. Secretary Sean Duffy is proposing to make English proficiency permanent. When we come back, homes of our history. Last Monday, we showed you Mount Vernon. Today, we will take a look inside at the history of Peaceville. That's coming up next. And as we go to break, a message from Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
Great nations are born of great people. They cannot survive long without them. Duty, sacrifice, service to a cause beyond oneself, belief in something larger and more important than the individual. These are the causes that impelled a group of extraordinary men to declare their independence to the world 250 years ago. The men who signed our Declaration of Independence understood that liberty meant something much more than being able to do whatever one wants. It was not the mere absence of limits. It was not liberation from man's duty to family, to nation, to God. They understood that order and virtue are the indispensable foundation of a free people, and that human virtue has to be cultivated by human institutions like the family, the church, just and moral laws, and the habits and practices of self-government. This is the true American tradition of freedom, passed down to us across the generations, stewarded and defended by men and women for 250 years. It has been the foundation of American greatness. Let us all pray that it will continue for the next 250 years as well.
Mike Lindell here. The radical left and the deep state aren't just coming for our freedoms, they're coming after our money too. For years, they've been destroying our economy from the inside out with reckless spending, open borders, woke policies that crush our businesses. And now they've left us with an inflation disaster that's wiping out the savings of our hardworking families. They don't want us to be independent. They want us to be dependent on the government. Well, that's not going to happen on my watch. That's why I partner with American Independence Gold. It's a veteran-owned company that's helping patriotic Americans fight back by protecting our savings with real physical gold and silver. And right now they're giving away up to $15,000 in free silver and a free gold IRA kit. A portion of all the profits go to 9/11 first responders and veterans at the Tunnels to Towers Foundation. The deep state can't touch your gold, so visit MikeLindellGold.com or call 844-714-4653 right now. That's MikeLindellGold.com. Take back control. Well, hello, everyone. Well, I'm turning 65, and let me tell you, Medicare has me confused. All the junk mail and the robocalls and everything else, it honestly feels like they rigged the system just to confuse us. Well, that's why I partnered and working with Chapter. They're independent and they don't work for big insurance. They work for us. In fact, they're the only advisor that compares every single plan nationwide to find what actually fits your needs. If you're on the right plan, they tell you. If you're not, they're going to help you switch. And it's completely free. Just last year, seniors saved about $1,100 by finding a better plan with Chapter. So call Chapter at 234-LINDELL or go to askchapter.org/Lindell. You know, most people think water's just about filtration, but in reality, it's about balance. what gets removed, what gets left behind, and how the water actually behaves once you drink it. Well, many traditional systems focus on one thing, removal. Reverse osmosis, for example, strips water down completely. It may sound ideal, but it removes minerals that our bodies need. The Century Wellness System was designed with a different philosophy. It removes common contaminants like chlorine, fluoride, and PFAS, while restoring key minerals like magnesium and improving alkalinity. It also does all this without tanks and without wastewater, and without requiring a complicated installation. It installs in about 15 minutes under your sink, so instead of overcorrecting, it brings your water back into balance. Please visit CenturyH2O.com and use promo code LINDELL for 10% off your next purchase.
Talk is cheap when it comes to saving our country. We're not just any cell phone service provider. We're Patriot Mobile. It's not enough to simply talk about values. We live them. Defending life, protecting our First and Second Amendments, and celebrating our military and first responder heroes. We're boots on the ground making a difference. We're America's only Christian conservative wireless provider with nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks and 100% US-based customer service. Join Patriot Mobile today and make an impact every time you use your cell phone.
America's founders warned that without knowledge and virtue, no nation can remain free. Yet through the steady infiltration of Marxist ideology, we have been stripped of both, and we are no longer a moral and educated people. To save America, we must spark nothing less than a national renaissance. That's why you need Freedom Talk Magazine, the journal of truth and virtue. We cultivate enlightened thinking and principled living, offering unique insights into the issues and remarkable people defining our world. Sign up today for your free subscription to Freedom Talk Magazine and join the new American Renaissance.
This Monday, we're continuing the series of Homes of Our History, and this week we take you to the beautiful place known as Fairfield, home of President John Adams.
John Adams' old house at Peacefield. He has been called the Colossus of Independence, and it is a title John Adams richly earned. A statesman, diplomat, lawyer, patriot, and president, Adams devoted his life to the birth and survival of the United States. He was not always the most beloved man in public life, nor the easiest man to follow, but he was among the most necessary. In the Continental Congress, Adams became one of the strongest voices for independence. He helped rally support for the Declaration of Independence, urged his fellow delegates to appoint George Washington as commander of the Continental Army, and labored tirelessly in committee rooms while a new nation struggled to be born. When the revolution moved beyond the battlefield, Adams again answered the call. Across the Atlantic, he served as a diplomat, secured vital support for the American cause, helped win a crucial loan from the Netherlands, and joined in negotiating the Treaty of Paris, which formally recognized American independence. Later, as the nation's first vice president and second president, Adams faced the hard work of preserving what the revolution had won. His presidency was marked by bitter division and foreign danger. But when pressure mounted for war with revolutionary France, Adams chose the long-term peace and security of the Republic over the easier path of political popularity. After a lifetime of service, he followed George Washington's example and accepted the peaceful transfer of power. Then he returned home to Massachusetts, to the place he and Abigail called Peacefield. Here, after decades spent building, defending, and serving the Republic, John Adams entered the final chapter of his remarkable life. The story of John Adams begins nearby in Braintree, Massachusetts, now Quincy. He was born in 1735 in a modest saltbox house on his family's farm. That birthplace reminds us that Adams did not come from great wealth or high office. He came from New England soil, from discipline, learning, faith, and work. From this small world, he rose to help shape a nation. Years later, Adams returned to Massachusetts and became the principal author of the Massachusetts Constitution of 1780, the oldest functioning written constitution in the world. Its design reflected one of Adams' deepest beliefs, that liberty could not survive without law, and that government must be strong enough to endure. but restrained enough to remain free. But the home most closely tied to the Adams' later life was Peacefield. The old house at Peacefield was built in 1731 and purchased by John and Abigail Adams in 1788. Located in Quincy, Massachusetts, the house became the home of 4 generations of Adams family, from 1788 until 1927. When John and Abigail bought it, Peacefield was more than a house. It was the anchor they had long desired after years of separation, sacrifice, and public duty. The Adams family expanded the home over time, added to the grounds, and shaped the garden into a refined country estate seen today. Peacefield was not a palace. It did not seek to overwhelm. Its power came from something quieter. It was a home of books, letters, orchids, gardens, family, memory, and thought. It reflected the world Adams had fought to protect, a republic of law, virtue, education, and ordered liberty. Peacefield reflects John Adams because it was both his reward and his retreat. For much of his life, Adams was away from home. He served in Philadelphia, France, the Netherlands, and Great Britain. He crossed oceans in dangerous seas and endured years of separation from Abigail and their children. His service to the nation often demanded that the sacrifice of the private happiness he cherished most. So when he returned to Peacefield, he was returning not simply to a house, but to the life he had spent decades defending. Here, Adams could walk his land, read in quiet, write at length, and live among family. The public storms did not vanish. He still followed national affairs closely. He still thought deeply about the fate of the republic. But at Peacefield, those thoughts could settle into reflection. The home also became a living monument to the Adams family place in American history. It was home not only to John and Abigail Adams, but also to their son, John Quincy Adams, the 6th President of the United States, to First Lady Louisa Catherine Adams, to diplomat Charles Francis Adams, and to later generations of writers and historians, including Henry and Brooks Adams. Few American homes have held so much public service under one roof, but Peacefield was also where old wounds began to heal. John Adams and Thomas Jefferson had once been close allies in the cause of independence. Together they helped give a voice to a revolution, but politics later divided them. The election of 1800 left their friendship broken, and for years silence stood between Peacefield and Monticello. Then in 1812, with the help of a mutual friend and the softening power of age, Adams and Jefferson resumed their correspondence. Though they never met again in person, their renewed friendship became one of the most famous exchanges in American history. For 14 years, from 1812 to 1826, the letters flowed between the two old revolutionaries. They wrote of politics, philosophy, religion, memory, grief, aging, and the meaning of the American experiment. In those letters, Peacefield became more than Adams' retirement home. It became one end of a conversation about the soul of the Republic. And then came July 4th, 1826. Exactly 50 years after the adoption of the Declaration of Independence, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson both died. Jefferson passed away at Monticello. Adams passed away at Peacefield. To many Americans, the timing seemed almost providential. Two men who had helped declare independence departed on the nation's jubilee, leaving behind a republic that has survived its first half-century. Daniel Webster later called the moment striking and extraordinary, and saw their lives as proof that our country and its benefactors are objects of God's care. At Peacefield, the long life of John Adams reached its final stillness. The fighter for independence, the defender of law, the diplomat, the president, the husband, the father, and the old correspondent of Jefferson all came together in one place. John Adams once wrote, "People and nations are forged in the fires of adversity." Those words reflected both the life he lived and the nation he helped build. Adams knew struggle. He knew rejection, conflict, criticism, and sacrifice. But he also knew duty. For more than half a century, he gave his talents, his energy, and his unbending conscience to the service of his country. Peacefield was a place where that long service came to rest. Here, surrounded by family, books, gardens, and memory, Adams found the quiet he had so often been denied. Here, he looked back on the revolution he helped begin, the Constitution he helped inspire, and the republic he had helped preserve. The old house at Peacefield still stands as a reminder that history is not only made in the halls of government or on the fields of battle. Sometimes it is gathered in letters, kept in libraries, planted in gardens, and carried through generations. John Adams gave his life to the cause of American independence. At Peacefield, that cause became personal. It became home.
Peacefield is located in Massachusetts. The National Park Service offers tours. So if you'd like to take a tour, you can. They are open every Wednesday through Sunday. The Independence Day fireworks show set a world record. We'll explain more in our News to Go segment. That's coming up here on My Mornings. And don't forget to join the conversation on my social media pages. You can follow me on X at Vanessa B News. I'm on Vocal, that is Mike Lindell's social media platform. Truth Social, President Trump's platform. Instagram. I'm also on YouTube. I am live there right now at Vanessa Broussard News. Give me a follow. I'm also on Facebook. Make sure you give me a like there as well. And if you'd like to sign up for my newsletter, you can do that as well. Go to my website, vanessabroussard.com, and sign up today for my newsletter. We'll be right back.
MyPillow's second annual mega sale is finally here. Get our patented premium MyPillows that adjust your exact individual needs to give you the best sleep of your life.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
I guarantee they're going to be the most comfortable pillows you'll ever own. King size only $24.98, queen size only $19.98. Giza Dream bed sheets, the best sheets in history, as low as $29.98. Lux Pierce 6-piece towel sets, towels that actually dry you. What a concept. Now only $39.98. And our made in the USA mattresses and mattress toppers as low as $99.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. Plus, free shipping options available when you order today. So don't delay, order now.
Welcome to Vocal, the free speech social app that gives you a platform to amplify your voice. Speak freely, connect boldly, and be part of a growing movement for truth, faith, and freedom. Want to know what's happening right now? The Now Playing feature shows you exactly who's live and what's streaming in real time. Check out the show's feed, a non-stop lineup including LINDELLTV News 24/7, shows and on-demand programming all in one place. Connect with your favorite host and never miss a show. Explore the featured page for quick access to LINDELLTV's top shows. Follow your favorites and watch their newest content flow right into your feed. And when they go live on Vocal, you can join the live chat and be part of the action. Ask questions, share your thoughts, even help shape future shows. Stay informed on issues around securing our elections by following your state's Cause of America account. Join a group and connect on a deeper level, from faith and freedom to the future of our nation. Go to vocal.com or download the app today and be a part of the mission to save our country. When you read one news source, you get one side. When you read two sources, you get an argument. Read 40 sources, and you get the truth. LINDELLReport.com, the only place you ever need to visit for your news. From LINDELLTV, over 40 trusted outlets in one place. No editorial gatekeepers, no hidden bias. Just the day's news. Balanced, unfiltered, ready when you are. Whether you lean left, right, or straight down the middle, this is where you start your day. One click, one feed, one truth. The decision is yours. LINDELLReport.com. The news you need, the balance you deserve.
All right, let's take a look at Wall Street opening bell numbers. A live look from MarketWatch.com. Wall Street just opened about 20 minutes ago. The Dow, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ all down at this hour. We had a wonderful week last week. Several times the markets hit new records last week, but we're starting off this week in the red. Investors are watching Iran, oil prices, and this week's inflation report. So hopefully things will flip around, but it's early there on Wall Street. But so far, not so good looking at the markets this morning. Now to your news to go. This is some good news. America's 250th birthday celebration is officially one for the record books. Guinness World Records has confirmed the 4th of July fireworks display in Washington, D.C. was the largest fireworks display ever, featuring more than 840,000 fireworks. That's a lot. The massive show lit up the nation's capital for roughly 40 minutes. We all watched, breaking the previous world record of just over 810,000. Here's a look at the president's schedule for today. He spent the weekend at Bedminster. He's now back at the White House. At 8 o'clock this morning, he held an executive meeting. At 12:30, a policy meeting. At 2 o'clock, we'll have coverage of this one, a swearing-in ceremony for the new Attorney General, which will be Todd Blanche. Again, that's 2 o'clock Eastern, so be looking for coverage on that. And then at 2:45 this afternoon, the president will sign an executive order. Make sure you're following us on social media and online at LINDELLTV.com for all your news updates throughout the day. And make sure that you're following tomorrow as well. We will have a crew in Minnesota on the ground with Mike Lindell all day long on Election Day. And then we'll have live coverage tomorrow as the polls close here on LINDELLTV.com. So make sure you're watching. We will be on the ground with Mike in Minnesota, and we will have that coverage for you live throughout the day and then live streaming from his watch party tomorrow night as the polls close and those results come in. And also, never miss a newscast. Don't miss the coverage tomorrow. Watch anywhere on the go on the Lindell TV app. It is free in your app store, on your phones, and also on your tablets. We leave you today with our Bible verse of the day. It comes from the book of Hebrews. The Bible says, "For this reason, we must pay much closer attention to what we have heard, so that we do not drift away from it." And that is your Bible verse of the day. And that'll do it for us here this morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. We will see you all same time, same place tomorrow. We leave you today with sights from President Trump's welcoming of USA Olympians to the White House. Watch some of that video, and we will see you tomorrow. Have a great day.
Today we're truly honored to welcome to the White House perhaps the greatest group of Winter Olympians in American history. At the 2026 Olympic Games, Team USA won more gold medals than any American Winter Olympic team has ever won before. And what an amazing achievement. Not bad. That's not bad. That's pretty good, isn't it, huh? We had some good teams, too. We're also honored to be joined by many of the members of the U.S. Paralympic team who are fantastic. I watched so much of that. and showed unbelievable strength and persistence and skill, and brought home an incredible 13 Paralympic gold medals to America. Congratulations. That's a lot of medals. It's a record. And of course, we can't forget and never would, and nobody would have the courage to forget either, because they are amazing. The history-making women's hockey team, this team left everything right on the ice, and they beat Canada and clinched the Olympic gold. With us today are two of the key contributors to that winning effort, Abby Murphy and Joy Dunn. And I want to thank you, Abby and Joy, for really a memorable period of time. It was just an amazing time for our country. Where are you, Abby and Joy? Where are you?
Mike Lindell here. The radical left and the deep state aren't just coming for our freedoms, they're coming after our money too. For years, they've been destroying our economy from the inside out with reckless spending, open borders, woke policies that crush our businesses, and now they've left us with an inflation disaster that's wiping out the savings of our hardworking families. They don't want us to be independent. They want us to be dependent on the government. Well, that's not going to happen on my watch. That's why I partner with American Independence Gold. It's a veteran-owned company that's helping patriotic Americans fight back by protecting our savings with real physical gold and silver. And right now, they're giving away up to $15,000 in free silver and a free gold IRA kit. A portion of all the profits go to 9/11 first responders and veterans at the Tunnels to Towers Foundation. The deep state can't touch your gold, so visit MikeLindellGold.com or call 844-714-4653 right now. That's MikeLindellGold.com. Take back control. Well, hello, everyone. Well, I'm turning 65, and let me tell you, Medicare has me confused. All the junk mail and the robocalls and everything else, it honestly feels like they rigged the system just to confuse us. Well, that's why I partnered and working with Chapter. They're independent and they don't work for big insurance. They work for us. In fact, they're the only advisor that compares every single plan nationwide to find what actually fits your needs. If you're on the right plan, they tell you. If you're not, they're going to help you switch. And it's completely free. Just last year, seniors saved about $1,100 by finding a better plan with Chapter. So call Chapter at 234-LINDELL or go to askchapter.org/Lindell. You know, most people think water's just about filtration, but in reality, it's about balance. What gets removed, what gets left behind, and how the water actually behaves once you drink it. Well, many traditional systems focus on one thing, removal. Reverse osmosis, for example, strips water down completely. It may sound ideal, but it removes minerals that our bodies need. The Century Wellness System was designed with a different philosophy. It removes common contaminants like chlorine, fluoride, and PFAS while restoring key minerals like magnesium and improving alkalinity. It also does all this without tanks and without wastewater, and without requiring a complicated installation. It installs in about 15 minutes under your sink, so instead of overcorrecting, it brings your water back into balance. Please visit CenturyH2O.com and use promo code Lindell for 10% off your next purchase.
Talk is cheap when it comes to saving our country. We're not just any cell phone service provider. We're Patriot Mobile. It's not enough to simply talk about values. We live them. Defending life, protecting our First and Second Amendments, and celebrating our military and first responder heroes. We're boots on the ground making a difference. We're America's only Christian conservative wireless provider with nationwide coverage on all